This channel was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be documented. This YouTube journey is my digital archive, a place where I record the process, not just the results. Some days it looks like a full day in the life. Other days it's a quiet week behind the scenes. Sometimes it's stepping away from my business completely, and sometimes it's just me sitting down, crafting ideas, and letting them unfold in real time. Authenticity means these vlogs won't always be published. They won't always be fast-paced or filled with excitement. Some days are slow, some days are repetitive, and some days, like today, feel almost meditative. This is one of those ASMR style moments where I'm not explaining every step, just letting the work speak right for itself. All this while my ideas come together. Today, I'm recreating an idea I originally found on Pinterest, something I've already explored in an earlier vlog. But this time, I'm not trying to copy it. I'm doing what creatives do the best, drawing inspiration and turning one concept into something entirely my own. And to be honest, this part can be very tedious. Designing isn't always effortless. Sometimes the idea in my head doesn't translate to paper. Sometimes I can see it clearly in my mind, but struggle to recreate it with my hands. Maybe that's indecision. Maybe it's overthinking, or maybe it's just part of the creative process. Either way, it always seems to work itself out in the end. The more I started to get into this design the more I couldn't help but reflect on everything this year and everything that it has brought me. This year was about leaps, taking chances without knowing exactly how things would turn out. It was about disappointments that didn't break me, even when they slowed me down. It was about growth that didn't always look impressive from the outside, but felt necessary on the inside. And yes, failures too. The quiet ones, the ones no one sees, the ones that teach you more than success ever could. I learned how to show up even when motivation was low, how to rebuild momentum after setbacks, how to trust myself more, even when the outcome wasn't guaranteed. This year reminded me that progress isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like consistency, sometimes it looks like patience, and sometimes it's gonna look like simply just continuing. So today, I'm just here, recreating, refining, experimenting, putting my ideas into play, documenting the process instead of rushing the results. And that's enough. As I continue working, I'm reminded that this business, this creative life, isn't built in big cinematic moments. It's built in the quiet ones, the hours that blur together, The moments where no one is watching, no one is clapping, and no one really knows how much thought went into one single decision. This is the part that people don't always see. The trial and error, the restarting, the sitting with an idea longer than planned. Is choosing colors, textures, shapes, and then changing your mind. It's trusting your intuition even when logic says to play it safe. It's allowing yourself to experiment without knowing if the final result will be loved, sold, or even understood. And that uncertainty, it never really goes away. There's always that quiet question in the back of your mind. Will this be worth it? Will anyone connect with this the way I do? But I've learned that creating from a place of honesty matters more than creating for approval, because the pieces that come together slowly, the ones shaped by patience and intention, tend to carry more meaning. This process has taught me how to slow down, to stop rushing creativity just to keep up with expectations, to stop measuring success only by output, to stop believing that consistency has to look the same every single day. Some days consistency is productivity, other days it's just rest, and sometimes it's simply just showing up, even if it means quietly. This year especially taught me how to honor my own pace. I learned that growth doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it happens internally, in how you think, how you react, how you move forward after disappointment. I learned that not every season is meant for expansion. Some seasons are meant for refinement, for learning, for recalibrating, for becoming more grounded in who you are and what you're building. And while there were moments of doubt, moments where I questioned whether I was doing enough, moving fast enough, or choosing the right direction, I'm realizing now that those pauses were necessary. They forced clarity, they forced intention, they forced me to really ask myself why I started in the first place. Not just why I create, but why I keep going. And the answer is simple, because creating feels like home. There's something deeply fulfilling about watching an idea evolve from a thought into something tangible, about knowing that what I'm working on didn't exist before I sat down to create it. That it came from my hands, my mind, and my time. That feeling never ever gets old. And maybe that's why I continue documenting this journey, even when it's slow, even when it's quiet, even when it feels repetitive. Because this is real, this is honest. This is what building looks like behind the scenes. No highlighted reel, no rush, just the process. So, as I finish this piece, adjust the final details and let everything come together in its own time, I try to remind myself that this right here is part of the story too. And it's one worth telling. So let's step back, not to the beginning, but towards the end, somewhere in the middle of all that quiet work. This is where I took my first real leap. I attended my very first market. It wasn't just about selling products, it was actually a shift. A defining moment that redirected the way I moved through my business entirely. Up until then, so much of my creating happened out of necessity. Make this, finish that, catch up, keep up. But preparing for that market forced me into a different mindset. It introduced me to creating in advance, not reacting, but planning, thinking ahead, building intentionally. It made me realize that my ideas deserve time before being rushed into the world. That preparation isn't pressure, it's actually protection. That one decision placed me in a space where I could finally showcase what I usually keep hidden. The behind the scenes process, the unfinished thoughts, the experiments, the problem solving. It wasn't just about what ended up on the table that day, it was about everything leading up to it. And that experience changed my course for what comes next. Because once you step into a room where people can physically touch your work, ask questions, connect with your story, you can't unsee that potential. It made next year feel real, tangible, and possible. That first market also forced me out of my comfort zone in ways I didn't expect. Before that moment, I mostly created when it was necessary, when an order came in or when motivation struck, but the market forced me to create in preparation, to think ahead, to build intentionally. It opened up the door for me to truly showcase what goes on behind the scenes. Not just finished product, but the systems, the planning, the trial and error, and the things that no one ever sees. It pushed me far outside of my comfort zone. I had to learn a POS system. I had to create new online store. I had to think about inventory, price and display, timing, all at once. I had to rethink how I track sales and customer experiences. And from there, everything started to expand. And there was moments I genuinely questioned if I could keep up. That one event pushed me to moments like these where I'm able to create more and showcase the behind the scenes. Not one day, not eventually, but now. It demanded structure, systems, a place for my work to live beyond social media, a space that felt aligned with where I'm heading and not just where I've been. It stretched me mentally, creatively, and emotionally. There were moments where I questioned if I had taken just a little bit too much. Moments where exhaustion and doubt tried to convince me to slow down or stop altogether. But instead, I learned how much more capable I am than I ever gave myself credit for. That leap taught me that growth doesn't wait until you feel ready. It shows up when you say yes before the fear quiets down, when you choose courage over comfort, when you decide to figure it out as you go. And now, everything feels different. The way I plan, the way I create, down to the way I approach each idea with intention instead of urgency. I no longer wait for a reason to create. I prepare for opportunity. I allow space for ideas to breathe before they're needed. I trust that what I'm building deserves forethought, care, and consistency. That first market didn't just test my limits, it expanded them. It showed me that the version of me I'm becoming is capable of more than I imagined. That my creativity isn't fragile, it's adaptable. That my vision doesn't need perfection to move forward, it just needs commitment. And as I continue working quietly in this moment, refining, adjusting, creating, I know that every small action is part of something bigger, something unfolding slowly, intentionally, and honestly. This journey isn't loud, it isn't rushed, but it sure as heck is real. And this is only the beginning. In combination to all my experiences this year and everything that I've learned leading up to the end of this year, I think the major thing is I learned that growth has a cost and it's not always financial. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's physical. Sometimes it shows up as exhaustion, which is disguised as ambition. And on the other hand, I've also learned that rest doesn't cancel progress. It protects it.
Touch your roles and await further instructions. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill.
And, This year also forced me to redefine what success looks like. Success used to mean numbers and sales and constant momentum. Now, success looks like alignment. It looks like building systems that support my life instead of draining it. It looks like choosing projects that feel meaningful. It looks like honoring my pace instead of comparing my progress. Some days, success is finishing what I started. I think it's going to be so cute. Like, when you guys see the final results, like, I don't know how it's going to turn out with this. 'Cause like I said, it's my first time, but when y'all see it, y'all will understand. But I'm such of a visual person. Like, other days, it's knowing when to stop. And both matters. This channel exists because I don't have everything figured out. And I don't want to pretend that I do. I document so that one day I can look back and see the quiet courage it took to keep going, to show up, to create anyway. And maybe someone else will see themselves here too. In the unfinished ideas, in all the pauses, in the slow progress, in the leap taken before confidence arrived. So as I continue working through this design, adjusting, refining, letting it take shape, I remind myself that this is enough for today. Not everything needs to be rushed. Not everything needs to be perfect. Sometimes creating is simply about being present with the work in front of you and trusting that it leads somewhere meaningful.